do you look at, and I understand that I think I know the answer to this, but do you look at getting rid of those, closing those down that don't make a profit? If so, why don't you get rid of those that don't make a profit?
I think that there was a large part of time spent in the late 90s and all the way up to perhaps 2002 and beyond, maybe 2005, trying to make that change, trying to figure out how many long-distance trains could we cut. Could we save money? We even looked, quite frankly, Congressman, ourselves at, because we know that our country's in trouble, we looked at and said, if we were going to reduce service, where would we do that? And would we save money by going to 3 days a week on service? We have 2 of our 15 long-distance trains are 3 days a week, and they're the 2 worst performers. So when you look at them, they're on the bottom of the rung. And what we found is we would lose more money if we did that, because people couldn't depend on it. It wasn't every day, and the service wouldn't.
But if you close them down,
if you close them down altogether, you would next year's cost would be, the first year to close down the 15 routes would be $1.1 billion, and that's because of the requirements that we had right from the beginning of this railroad. Out labor pay, and also we'd have to spread other costs that require as part of the shutdown. So it would be over $1 billion next year, and then that would play out over a 5-year period. You'd have probably in excess of $4 to $5 billion to shut them down, and you'd no longer have any service for the rural states of the United States.
So, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if I have any time, but just so I understand that you would have an initial close down, shutdown cost. Eventually, however, you wouldn't have to subsidize, you wouldn't have to, I guess, maintain, you wouldn't have to have all the costs that involves. So eventually you would start saving money, and would it not be a substantial amount of money? In other words, look, I'm posing this as a question. In the private sector, when something is losing big money, and I realize I'm out of town, but in the private sector where you're losing big money, you shut those down and you focus on what makes you money. And I'm not quite sure if we're looking at that, if that's possible, if that's feasible, and if not, I'd like to know, with maybe later on, why not, and we'll continue the conversation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've been very generous.